Mind can only contain a tiny fraction of what you are. It's like sticking your finger in a glass of water to see if it's hot or cold. You put a tiny part of yourself into the vessel, and when you bring it back out, you've gained all the experiences it had. You've been in a human form for the last 48 years, so you haven't stretched out yet and felt the rest of your immense consciousness. If we hung out here for long enough, you'd start remembering everything. But there's no point in doing that between each life. How many times have I been reincarnated then? Oh, lots and lots. And into a lot of different lives, I said. This time around, you'll be a Chinese peasant girl in 540 AD. Wait, what? You stammered. You're sending me back in time? Well, I guess technically. Time as you know it only exists in your universe. Things are different where I come from. Where you come from, you said. Oh, sure, I explained. I come from somewhere else. And there are others like me. I know you'll want to know what it's like there, but honestly, you wouldn't understand. Oh, you said, a little let down. But wait, if I get reincarnated to other places in time, I could have interacted with myself at some point. Sure, it happens all the time. And with both lives only aware of their own lifespan, you don't even know that it's happening. So what's the point of it all? Seriously, I asked. Seriously, you're asking me for the meaning of life? Isn't that a little stereotypical? Well, it's a reasonable question, you persisted. I looked you in the eye. The meaning of life, the reason I made this whole universe, is for you to mature. You mean mankind? You want us to mature? No, just you. I made this whole universe for you. With each new life, you grow and mature and become a larger and greater intellect. Just me? What about everyone else? There is no one else, I said. In this universe, there's just you and me. You stared blankly at me. But all the people on Earth, all you, different incarnations of you. Wait, I'm everyone? Now you're getting it, I said with a congratulatory slap on the back. I'm every human being who ever lived, or who will ever live, yes. I'm Abraham Lincoln, and you're John Wilkes Booth too, I added. I'm Hitler? You said, appalled, and you're the millions he killed. I'm Jesus, and you're everyone who followed him. You fell silent. Every time you victimize someone, I said, you are victimizing yourself. Every act of kindness you've done to yourself. Every happy and sad moment ever experienced by any human was or will be experienced by you. You thought for a long time. Why, you asked me. Why do all this? Because someday, you will become like me. Because that's what you are. You're one of my kind. You're my child. Whoa, you said incredulous. You mean I'm a god? No, not yet. You're a fetus. You're still growing. Once you've lived every human life throughout all time, you will have grown enough to be born. So the whole universe, you said, it's just an egg, I answered. Now it's time for you to move on to your next life. And I sent you on your way. So I heard this story when I was in Florida. My best friend Jay Skolnick read it to me. And it struck a chord, and I said, and I knew I was going to speak here, I said I wanted to end up with a story like that. That it's all for something. And the pressure we feel in life is the same pressure that turns coal into diamonds. And we can look at our suffering a bit differently from now on. So how do we go forward? I'll tell you one last tale, and that's how I'll finish for today. So what's the purpose of it? For me, this is how I see it now. And the story talks about a student of Zen. And he goes to his master, he bows reverently, and he asks the master, Master, is there a heaven and a hell? And if so, what's the difference? So the master looks at his student and says, My son, there is a heaven and a hell. In hell, everyone sits at an infinitely long banquet table. Okay, they're sitting on both sides of the table, and there's every single delicious food and dessert and drink ever created there in perfect preparation in infinite quantity. And everybody in hell has a 6-foot spoon perfectly grafted, permanently grafted to their hands. So everybody scoops the food, but they can't get it into their mouth. So your punishment in hell is that you starve for all eternity without ever dying, with the food right in front of you. So the student is taken aback. He says, well then, Master, what's heaven like? He says, son, heaven is exactly the same. Infinitely long banquet table, all the best foods ever. Everybody's got that 6-foot spoon perfectly connected to their hands. The only difference is that in heaven, everyone scoops the food and feeds the people sitting on the opposite side of the table. And I think that's what we're here for. In the same way that the story I read before, the universe was made for you, I believe we were made for each other. We're here to help one another and to love one another. And I hope when you leave here today that you remember that, and that if you have felt this in the past and you had this feeling that you're here for love's sake, you were right the whole time. And don't let the world and don't let the media, don't let anybody ever tell you otherwise. You're here for the purpose of love. And when you do that, that's when we start stepping into our godliness. And so my soul bows to your soul today, guys. Namaste. Thank you so much for being here today. Steve, Robert, thank you guys for inviting me. Thank you guys. Have a great day. God bless you guys. All right, we're going to do a meditation, I guess. For real. Should I set it up, Steve, you think? Yeah? We had a problem last time. Okay, guys, so we'll maybe take, Steve, what, 5 minutes? What's the deal with that?
As long as
10, 15 minutes is,
Okay, so we'll just spend a certain amount of minutes here, then I'll turn off the music. You can take a few more moments to be quiet, and then you get up, You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here, right? Is that how it goes? So what I'm going to be playing for you, I didn't want to do anything with words, because then the mind starts activating a little bit more. This is something called the miracle tone. For those of you who know a little science and a little sound technology, things vibrate in something, a frequency called hertz. So 528 hertz, they call it the miracle tone. They said it repairs DNA and really awakens the soul, awakens the spirit force. It was actually my brother-in-law and my sister who introduced it to me some time ago. So I'm going to play the miracle tone for you. If you've never meditated before, you can just sit quietly and you can focus on the sound.